breaking news. We're hearing about people waving Nazi flags outside of a Diary of Anne Frank play in Howell. A member of the Howell American Legion Post tells 6 News they let a community theater group use their building to put on the event. The member says the Legion has heard about rising anti-Semitism and thought people could learn from the play. The night ended with people outside of the Legion waving Nazi flags. We're told once these people started being filmed, they left the area.
Play that we're hosting here at the Post. It's historical, and it's something that people can learn from. And, well, this is the kind of crap you have to put up with.
We have plans to talk with the Legion and members of the play soon. We will keep you updated as we learn more. Of people waving Nazi flags in 2 different mid-Michigan cities, including in front of a Jewish play. It's our top story at 11. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rachel Ramsey. Yesterday, we told you about people waving flags with swastikas on them in front of the American Legion Post in Howell while a theater group performed the Diary of Anne Frank inside. Since then, we've learned this was not the only place the group went to last night. Taryn Simmons spoke to numerous witnesses and is here for you now with what they experienced.
Rachel, a member with the Howell American Legion Post, says the Legion heard about rising anti-Semitism and thought people could learn from the play. They say the entire incident was troubling, and it happened in downtown Fowlerville, too. I spoke with people who say they saw the group there and couldn't believe what was coming out of their mouths.
It was upsetting, just knowing the character that I was playing, knowing a lot of the research that I did on my character.
It kind of surprised me to have something that I was doing and had my name on getting protested.
Members of the Fowlerville Community Theater were shocked to hear the Jewish play they've been performing for 2 weeks was being protested by people holding swastika flags. Laura Goldthwaite, commander at the American Legion where the play took place, says she believes the group was there to intimidate people, something the Legion doesn't stand for.
I'm at a loss, honestly, both personally and as an organization.
Witnesses say after the group left Howell, they went to downtown Fowlerville. These witnesses say the men had their faces covered with masks that read 1488, a symbol of white supremacy.
There was a group of people at the 4-way intersection in downtown that had swastika flags, American flags. They were sticking their arms up, yelling "Hail Hitler" and "Hail Trump" and everything like that.
They looked at me and one of them said, "No, this is Pureville now, and, we're here to make sure it stays pure."
Peter Damrose says when he confronted the group, they told him to go back to his country. He says he believes the group did this due to the current political climate.
I really felt that they felt comfortable enough to do this because of Trump's reelection, and what they said to me at the stoplight made that quite clear.
The Fowlerville Community Theater says they were able to finish performing the Diary of Anne Frank regardless of the protest. They say they were just happy to represent history. Rachel, back to you.
With 6 News at 5.
The Livingston County community responds after people with Nazi flags gathered in Howell and Fowlerville Saturday night. It is our top story today at 5. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones. Members of the Howell and Fowlerville communities are concerned tonight after people waving Nazi flags stood outside an American Legion Post where a performance of the Diary of Anne Frank was taking place inside. They're particularly upset given what has been a long history of racism in Livingston County. Zach Priest takes a look at how the 2 communities are responding. Zach?
Thanks, Sherry. Because the Howell area used to be home to a high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan, many people already associate the town with racism. And what happened on Friday doesn't help that reputation. I got the chance to talk with Julie Osashi and Tanya DeFever, members of a group called Stand Against Extremism Livingston County, about the Nazi flag waving. They're familiar with the Howell and Fowlerville communities and say this behavior doesn't represent everyone from the county. However, they also say local leadership has been silent about white supremacy, something they say needs to change. Their reactions to the incident varied from sadness to concern.
Can't say I was shocked because we have seen them in the community in the last year. I guess I felt really saddened.
Instantly, contact my Fowlerville people and make sure that everybody knew, and Howell people, like, that they were out, and just to be careful if you were in the area because it's dangerous.
And I also got to speak with someone who works for the city of Howell, and they said that they're frustrated that this event likely brought back some of Howell's racist reputation. We'll hear later on from the mayor of Howell and another local lawmaker about this weekend's events. That's coming up tonight on 6 News at 6. Sherry.
New reaction tonight from officials in Livingston County after people with Nazi flags gathered in Howell and Fowlerville. It is our top story tonight at 6. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Siobhan Klepfer. Both incidents happened on Saturday night, one outside of the American Legion Post in Howell, which was hosting a performance of the Diary of Anne Frank, and the other outside of the Fowlerville Community Theater, whose members performed the play in Howell.
Our Zach Priest has more tonight on how officials are responding to this. Zach?
Thanks, Sherry. Siobhan, community leaders are saying that the actions of a few don't represent the many. And it's worth noting that the Howell area used to be home to a high-ranking member of the Ku Klux Klan, which is why many people already associate the town with racism. And what happened on Saturday doesn't help that reputation. Today, I talked to the mayor of Howell, Bob Ellis, and Republican State Representative-elect Jason Wolford. Both said the incidents of Saturday night are unacceptable and don't represent Howell as a whole. Wolford says Howell is a great community and that people of many backgrounds are moving to Howell. Mayor Ellis says it's tough for Howell to overcome its negative reputation following events like these.
Well, I'll say to those that are using our community, and in most cases don't even live here, to promote a message of hate, quit coming here.
When the protesters came in August, it was national news, and it's very difficult to respond to that because we don't have a national voice.
And Mayor Ellis says that he believes this group is the same group that gathered in August. I also talked with another city employee who they were very frustrated that these actions may bring back some of Howell's racist reputation. Sherry, Siobhan.
Message of hate in Livingston County after Nazi demonstrations in 2 communities. It's our top story at 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer.
And I'm Sherry Jones. The demonstrations were by people with their faces covered, waving Nazi flags in Livingston County on Saturday night.
One was outside American Legion 141 in Howell, where the performance of the Diary of Anne Frank was taking place, while the other was outside the Fowlerville Community Theater, whose members were putting on the play.
Now, the theater released a statement today detailing what happened. Organizers say they became aware of the protesters during the first act of the play and notified American Legion staff, who said the situation was under control.
The audience and performers were informed at intermission. The show went on and the theater group finished the play.
Now, the theater released a statement today praising the strength and professionalism of the performers.
The Diary of Anne Frank tells a story of people who lost their lives during the Holocaust. 6 million Jewish people were killed by Nazis and their allies. The theater says the protesters provided, quote, a small glimpse of the fear and uncertainty felt by those in hiding.
Now, this comes after a White Lives Matter demonstration back in August in downtown Howell.
Mayor Bob Ellis and Republican State Representative-elect Jason Wolford rejected the message of hateful demonstrations.
Well, I'll say to those that are using our community, and in most cases don't even live here, to promote a message of hate, quit coming here.
When the protesters came in August, it was national news, and it's very difficult to respond to that because we don't have a national voice.
Now, the Howell community has been trying for years to distance itself from historic connections to racism. A former leader of the Ku Klux Klan once lived in that area. Over the weekend, Nazi protesters held demonstrations outside a theater group in Fowlerville and an American Legion Hall in Howell over a performance of the Diary of Anne Frank.
Officials on both sides of the aisle were quick to condemn those demonstrations. Our Capitol correspondent Tim Skubik got reaction from Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
You know, it's distressing.
The city of Howell is back in the national headlines. Last summer, some white supremacists paraded in downtown Howell shouting, quote, "We love Hitler, we love Trump." They were rebuked then by local officials. And now last Saturday, similar protesters showed up at the American Legion Hall in town, where a production of The Diary of Anne Frank was underway. Local officials again expressed their displeasure. Here for the first time, Governor Gretchen Whitmer checks in.
I think that some of the rhetoric that we're already seeing is really corrosive and very concerning, and as you see rallies like this and how the local community was really shocked by it, just tells you that we are wading into some concerning territory.
The governor denounces hate speech and reassures local and state residents that job one for her is to protect you.
And that's why I'm going to continue to try to make sure that Michigan residents feel safe, but hate speech and demonstrations to scare and intimidate fellow Americans is not something I take lightly.
Of course, all this comes as the governor confronts dealing with a second Donald Trump administration in Washington. And her attitude is, I've done this before and will find a way to cooperate again.
We have worked with the Trump administration before. We will figure out how to work with the Trump administration going into this last 2 years of my term.
Asked if the Michigan State Police would cooperate with the new Trump administration on the deportation of illegal immigrants, the governor did not respond. Here for you in Lansing, Tim Skubik, 6 News.
The sheriff of Livingston County released a statement today on the recent Nazi protests in Howell and Fowlerville.
And those demonstrations were in response to a production of the play The Diary of Anne Frank.
Sheriff Mike Murphy explained his deputies did not arrest those demonstrators or publicly identify them because while they were, quote, spewing venom, end quote, they did not do anything illegal. On the topic of how people should respond, the sheriff recalled a different protest when the KKK showed up in Howell back in the late 1990s. And the community ignored it.
And there was about 6 people that showed up. That was one of the proudest days ever for me in this county because the community stayed away. They didn't get the rise. They were supposed to be there for like 4 hours or something like that. They were literally there for about a half an hour. They packed up and they left. That's exactly what we need to do with these knuckleheads.
Sheriff Murphy also took the opportunity to mock the Nazi protesters for wearing masks and sunglasses to hide their identities.
Nazis protested at 2 locations in Livingston County over the weekend.
And today, Republican Tom Barrett, who was just elected to serve that district in the U.S. House of Representatives, responded to the incident.
Now, those Nazi demonstrations took place at the Fowlerville Theater Company and the American Legion Post in Howell in response to a production of The Diary of Anne Frank, which is about the Holocaust. Today, Congressman-elect Tom Barrett added his voice to those condemning the display.
This was a horribly unfortunate circumstance. We have World War II veterans who are still alive and are still members of our post who fought the Nazis. And so to see that insulting display, I know was highly offensive to everybody, and we all stand united in condemning that for sure.
Tom Barrett himself is a veteran and adds that he is a life member of the American Legion.
People across mid-Michigan rallying against racism and bigotry following a Nazi sighting earlier this month. It's our top story at 11. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rachel Ramsey. An anti-white supremacy rally in Howell today brought out hundreds of people. Taryn Simmons was there and talked with a few of the protesters on why it was important for them to speak out. Taryn?
Rachel, the most recent display of white supremacy happened a little more than a week ago. The group who held today's rally in opposition of white supremacy is called SAGE, and they say it's time to take action and do something.
This is the 4th time this year that I personally have been protesting actual Nazis in this town, in this calendar year, which is bananas.
Meg Kahneman, a member of SAGE and also a resident of Fowlerville, proudly shared her disdain against white supremacy this afternoon at an anti-Nazi protest. She says the event is to counter against people waving swastika flags earlier this month.
For that to make national news, that's what got all these people here. We're seeing new friends that we've never seen before. They're coming from Washington County and Oakland County. I've heard people say they're from Detroit and Grand Rapids and Lansing. All kinds of people are coming to support us in our mission to fight against this racism.
Many guest speakers expressed their concerns about bigotry within the community, including the mayor of Howell.
We don't want to be known as a racist or intolerant community.
He says hate has no place here.
We really want to be known as a welcoming and inclusive community. And each time these people come out, it sets us back 10 years.
One of the protesters say when she heard about the incident earlier this month, she was appalled.
I have black children. I have a black granddaughter. This strikes very close to home for me. This is not what our country's about.
Fowl quotes the great Martin Luther King Jr. to highlight her stance against intolerance.
There should be no discrimination. People should be judged on their character, not on the color of their skin, period, the end.
The mayor of Howell says to combat against racism and Nazi ideologies, they're hiring a public relations firm to counter against hate-filled messages that have riddled their community. Rachel, back to you.